Hi everyone, this is Miss Sinclair.
Mr. Anderley.
And Miss Shannon, welcome back.
In this video, we're going to go through the factoring steps. So here we have steps to help you factor easily. So the first thing you should do when you're factoring is always look for a GCF first. GCF stands for greatest common factor. Then you would want to look for a difference of two squares. Sometimes we call that dots. And then you want to look for trinomial factoring, and sometimes we call that TRAM.
All right, so the first step is always going to be your greatest common factor. You're going to be looking for what all the terms have in common. So if we look at 2x squared plus 6x, we should notice that there's a 2x common in both terms. So when you factor out a 2x, what you're really doing is dividing each term by 2x. So if we divide 2x squared by 2x, we put the 2x in front, and we end up with x plus 3. So 2x times x plus 3 is fully factored form. Then for part B, we have 3m squared n minus 9m n squared. You'll notice we have a common term of 3mn in both terms. So if we factor that out, we end up with m minus 3n.
The next type of factoring we would look for is difference of two squares. This is when you have a binomial in each term and it's a perfect squared. So when factored, it produces two binomials with the same terms but with opposite signs. So if we're looking at this first example here, x squared is a perfect square and 25 is a perfect square. So it produces two binomials but with different signs. And it doesn't matter if you do minus first or plus. And then you want to take the square root of both. So we have x, and we have 5, and then x minus 5. Okay, the next one here, once again we have two perfect squares. 16x squared and 9 are both perfect squares. And this is important because difference of two squares, so there needs to be a subtraction between them. So 16x squared, if we take the square root of that, that is 4x. So 4x is our first term. And then square root of 9 is 3. So plus 3 minus 3. And again, it doesn't matter if you would have done 4x minus 3 or 4x plus 3.
Our third type of factoring is trinomial factoring, or TRAM. With TRAM, you're breaking apart a trinomial into two binomials. With TRAM, you want to look for what multiplies to the last term but adds to the second term. So what multiplies to 12 but adds to 7. So for our first example, let's just list the factors of 12. So the factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. So what multiplies to 12 but adds to 7, we can see is 3 and 4. Okay, so then we can write it out. We have x plus 3, x plus 4. And notice they're both plus signs because we're multiplying to a positive 12 and adding to 7. In our next example, we want to see what multiplies to 16 but adds to negative 10. So if we're multiplying to a positive 16 but adding to a negative 10, that means that we need to have two negative signs. So I know it's going to be x minus something, x minus something. And if I think about it, I know that 8 times 2 is 16, so it's minus 8 minus 2.
So once again, these are the three steps that you want to look for. Look for your greatest common factor first, then difference of two squares, and then look for a trinomial factoring. So I hope this was a nice review for you and you found it helpful.